for my people and my family, and the ones who say they understand me. Yeah, I see you, and I see you. We gon' make it to the top, that's what we do. Tell them like, black is the new green. Black is the new green. We gon' make it to the top, we gon' live our dream. Shout out to the ones who doubt me. I'm a strong black king, tell them crown me. Beat the odds, leave them mad, now they frowning. I be swimming in the money like I'm drowning. Black is the new green. Black is the new green.
Hey guys, what's going on? Happy Wednesday. It is the last Wednesday of Women's History Month, but that does not mean we have to stop celebrating women in history, women in right now, all of these things. But I just wanted to acknowledge it's been a fantastic month right here at Black is the New Green, because we have been focused on some of the most amazing women all month long. And we've got one more for you today. But before we get to her, let me officially welcome you to Black is the New Green, an original series of live interviews dedicated to shining the spotlight on Black entrepreneurs and the amazing achievements of our community. I'm Michelle Taylor Willis, your host for the show, and I'm so excited that we actually have a live audience joining us today. I say that we never have a live audience. We always have a live audience, but I'm thankful for you guys today. Black is the New Green was created by Radavision, the new streaming and community platform for the startup world, where everyone can be entertained, learn about, and participate in the entrepreneurial revolution that is transforming how we live, work, play, and create our futures. My guest for today is Alicia Ivey, founder and chief executive officer at Goldberg's Concessions Corporation, and she's also the chairman of Phoenix Drilling Corporation. And I'm going to start with Phoenix Drilling, because woman and drilling don't often go together. And for that reason alone, I'm so excited that she is on the show today, because she is all things amazing. And I can't wait to talk to her and learn about how she got into this. And it's just amazing. So Alicia, hi.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Michelle. First of all, I just want to start out by saying how awesome you are, and to thank you for just making sure to shine and making sure to show the best and brightest of us. We thank you and we love you for all that you do. And thank you for having me on Black is the New Green today.
Well, thank you very much. I received that, but I don't want to spend too much time on me because we don't have a whole lot of time, and I want to focus on you. But thank me after the show, and we can spend like 30 minutes on it, okay? Okay, so your dad started this drilling corporation, Phoenix Drilling Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And you now are the chairman of his dream, so to speak.
Yes.
So Phoenix Drilling Corporation, and I need to read this because I want to make sure I don't mess this up, is an environmental and geotechnical drilling corporation, right?
That is correct.
So what I'd like for you to do is explain exactly what it is that you do from that. And I'm not going to forget about Goldberg's, because that's amazing what you've done there.
Right.
But talk about exactly what you do and kind of your journey to entering this space through your father's dream and continuing his legacy, because I just think it's amazing.
Well, first of all, I always wanted to be in business. I started carrying a briefcase when I was 14 years old. And I had this vision, that's why it's important, what you do and say to children and how you inspire and encourage them. And so my mom always encouraged me and took me to franchise shows and all kinds of things. And it prompted me to want to know, what was this business world about? And how could I be a part of it? And so in my last year of college, my father retired and he started his company. And I wanted to do everything my dad did. So instead of going straight to college, I told my dad that what I wanted to do was work in the company alongside with him and go to school at night. Now, at first, I thought that was the worst decision in the world, but it was actually the best thing in the world that I could have ever done, because I learned how things should be done in the world of business. And
Mm,
so I learned everything that I couldn't have ever learned in a college or university. And I want to tell everybody that my dad was not soft on me. In fact, he was the hardest. He would tell me, I'm going to tell you one time and one time only about things.
wow.
And what I realized right then and there, that he was preparing me and making me disciplined, because one day he might not be there with me to shepherd me and hold my hand.
Right.
And so this was truly about legacy building. I didn't know that at the time, but looking back in retrospect, absolutely it was. So let me just share with you what environmental and geotechnical drilling is for those of you who don't know. So, environmental drilling, before, if there's something that's out there that is a contaminant, we are the folks that go out there and take the soil samplings for engineers to analyze what's in the groundwater table. Also, if there is something that's being built, whether it's a bridge, whether it's a building, we are the people that go out pre-construction to make sure to give the soil samples to engineers so that they can analyze to see if the structure can withstand. So it
Mm,
is a very, very niche industry.
got it.
My father started in it long ago and decided that he was going to be an entrepreneur himself. So I learned from the master. I learned directly from him. And so my father, I'm incredibly indebted and grateful to him because he served as my first mentor and my role model.
So let me ask you this. You said so many things. One of the things I love about this, and we talk about this a lot in the Black community, right? Legacy.
Hmm.
And this is one of the things that we really want to push. And like legacy, living legacy, generational wealth, all of these terms are like thrown out
Right.
these days, right?
Hmm.
Without any real substance behind them. And what I mean by that is it's like they're like buzzwords, like diversity and inclusion,
Right.
D&I.
It has to
Um,
be intentional.
it has to be intentional. And it's like, what does that actually look like? Right. I moderated a panel last night, and one
Hmm.
of the women on the panel said, generational wealth is great, but it's really generational knowledge that keeps us from screwing up the generational wealth. Right.
Absolutely.
And I love that you said your dad taught you, right, how to run a business. He taught you the fundamentals. He was hard on you. And it's the knowledge that you gained from him that you've been able to kind of disperse into all of these other ventures that you have. So you have a legacy business now that your dad started,
Hmm.
that you now have taken over.
Hmm.
You've got this legacy knowledge that he
Hmm.
imparted in you that you're using in this space. And he taught you negotiation, strategy, chess, right, in terms of business,
Absolutely.
because you're in a like the most male dominated industry ever. I researched this and I looked
Male,
up
male and no one that looks like me. And
absolutely.
there were many times where I would walk into a room and, someone would say, pour me some coffee or,
Um,
different things because it was, I was a unicorn. There was no me. And so my father made certain to let me know that I had to be better. I
mm,
had to run faster. I had to make sure to be prepared, be on time, follow through, but most importantly, be disciplined.
mm,
Discipline is really critically key because if you don't take care of your business will take care of you. That was the bottom line with my father. And so, while I was growing and my friends were doing all kinds of things that were associated with, our youth and with going to college and all of that, it felt really strange not to be doing all of those things.
right.
But at the same time, I was learning a lifetime of brain trust that was going to help ensure me for a path of success so that I could not only help my community, but help others, enrich others' lives. So it was a mandate. It was, God, family, and business. That
Mm,
is our family mantra.
right.
And so we made certain that legacy building in business was very intentional. Decisions were very intentional. And sometimes that meant, things that we might want it for each other that I may have personally wanted. I might have to think about the future and what that means for the business, what that
Mm.
means for our family name, and the continuation of that. And so that was front and center. And so again, I realized that I was extremely blessed. I was extremely blessed to have a great father and a great mother, and one that would help impart with me these things that could help me take along the way to learn and to be the best that I could be and be of service to my community.
Which you absolutely have. I know you're from, Atlanta, and you
Yes,
love
I'm from
Atlanta.
ATL unapologetically all the way.
Yes, we know that, like, even though you reach internationally, right? But we know that Atlanta is where it all starts and stops for you, right here in the ATL, which I love. And you're very intentional about this community ingrainment, so to speak, it's just for what you do, but obviously for everybody else. So you mentioned discipline, and I know that
Mhm.
you believe in the fundamentals of business, like the basic stuff, showing up on time, right?
Absolutely.
Doing what you say you're going to do,
Absolutely.
surrounding yourself with people smarter than you always.
Hmm.
Talk to me and to our viewers about how that helped you in terms of being in this industry where there are very few women, and certainly no black women. Look, I googled black women in this industry, women in this industry, and it was like I found one company and all I could see was woman owned. I'm
Right.
assuming it's not black because they would have had on their black owned woman enterprise, or you know what I mean.
Hmm.
I couldn't find anything. So how do these fundamental principles helped you be at the top of your game? And how can our listeners and viewers learn from that as they're entering, or being in this space?
Well, first and foremost, I think that the number one thing that I always keep front and center in my mind is that, you know, I am a part of my ancestors' dream. So I owe it to all the people who came before me, who fought, who bled, who died, to be the best that I can be, to represent. So that meant that I had to be prepared and that I had to make sure whenever I went anywhere that I was an example, not only for myself, but for others. It's extremely important that when you're doing business, that you surround yourself, and I say this all the time, you need to make sure that you're not the smartest person in the room because truly iron sharpens iron.
Right.
And don't forget that you're there by the grace of God. Make sure that you're taking someone else and somebody else with you. Every company that we've built has always employed and enriched and elevated people who look like me all the time because there's only a few things that I know about, and that's being a woman and being African American. And I realized that very early on that if I did not contribute in a way that could help my community economically, that it was going to be a powerful shift in our communities. You see, when you have rich economics in a community, it changes the fiber and the trajectory of people. So for me, entrepreneurship is not just about making money or building businesses. It's about changing and empowering people and communities.
Mm.
Because as I scale and build a business, I'm able to help others who look like me empower themselves. And I make very sure that I'm there to be of service and to be there to, if you have the questions, to be an open book to answer them, because I owe it, because I've been bought and paid for many
Mm.
times by my ancestors. So I take it extremely seriously, because I believe it's my fundamental philosophy and belief that economics is what's truly going to help liberate African Americans. It changes the dynamics of our health. It changes the dynamics of our communities, where we're educated, how we live, where we live. Economics is important. So my contribution is by entrepreneurship, and to do just what my father told me to do. And that is never put profit before people,
Mm.
and never forget where I come from. Don't forget. Because once you forget where you come from, that's when you start making the mistakes.
Mm.
And so, while that business is a non traditional business, it goes back to the core traditions of my family and my people, I believe,
Right.
because the business just allows me to be able to do the work of my people and making sure that we provide opportunity.
You could drop the mic right on that. I mean, like we could be done and people would be like, okay, all right, I have work to do. I'm good.
Well, I mean, we've got, we are here for a purpose and a reason by design. And so, um, it's not just about, as we say, getting the bag. It's beyond the bag. The bag is one aspect, right? Money is one aspect, but what do you do with the money? How do
Mhm.
we empower beyond the bag,
Mm.
right?
Right.
And so, what are we doing to make sure and ensure that we are building wealth and generational wealth?
So
And
I'm
not just from excuse not just from money, but from brain trust, as you said, Michelle.
right. And I'm glad you said that. I'm going to pitch that question back to you.
Mhm,
But I do want to. You said never forget where you came from. And again, for you, it's all about the fundamentals, which I think is so powerful. Like people, if you're listening or watching to this, it's the fundamentals. Once we have the fundamentals, we can transition that and parlay that to any type of business or organization or relationship. Everything boils back to what that foundation, what those fundamentals are, the basic disciplines, right?
mhm,
But I interviewed Carvin Hagens, who I'm hoping will come on this show as well. Um,
mhm,
Carvin actually, I don't know if you know the name, but he discovered like music soul child. He's worked with Jill Scott, Justin Timberlake. Like he's a Grammy nominated songwriter, engineer, producer, all those things. And he said his office right now, his studio looks exactly like the studio that he had when he first started, when he was working with like Jazzy Jeff 30 years
mhm,
ago. And
mhm.
he said he did that because he didn't want to forget where he came from,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And that's his reminder, just stay humble. So I love that you say that because whenever I interview amazing people, right? But
Mhm,
everything is the same. You guys all say the same things, and it's really up to us to listen and hear and to just execute on all of these amazing things. So having said that, though, I want to ask you, how do you use the bag to
mhm,
empower? Like, what does that actually look like, right? If I'm an entrepreneur, I've gotten started, I'm doing great, we're making money, we
mhm.
haven't put profit over people, and now it's time to use that money to empower. How do people do that in business? like specifically?
Multiple different ways. I can tell you how I've done it. And so, first and foremost, I'm in two non-traditional fields, right? You know, one with
Oh, did we lose her? Uh-oh. Alicia, can you hear us? Or can you hear me? I'm not sure on what end we're frozen on. Alicia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Michelle. Can you
There
hear
you
me?
are. Okay,
Oh,
got it.
perfect. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, we got
people tend to think that mentorship can start when you're in your teens or, different things like that. But what I found is that mentorship is at any age. And so I was finding that there were folks who needed mentorship in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And so what I decided to do was to take on women, young women, in a range of different ages, and not just have them, you know, shadow me, but to put them in the business and to have them to learn about the business,
Mhm.
invest in them, and make sure that they have a start. I think that is fundamentally one thing that we should always do. We shouldn't just talk about it. We should make sure to have people and give them an opportunity and show them by example. So day in and day out, I have someone that's with me that I'm teaching the business, not only in airport concessions, but also in drilling, because what happens if I'm gone? All of this brain trust leaves from me.
right.
So, whatever business that you're in, find a way to empower not one person, but multiple people if you can. Bring
Right.
them along with you and then help them, stand them up in business. If they don't understand certain principles, how to get started, what to do, fundamentally, how to set companies up, they don't know how to negotiate deals, they don't even know where to start.
Right.
Help them with that because I had to have a start somewhere and I needed someone to shepherd me and hold my hand. And so that's what I did. And that's what I continue to do today. I think that's one major thing.
Mm.
Now, you talked about there is a young man that keeps his studio the same way. At the airport, my office is right there at the airport. And I did that for one fundamental reason. It's because I want the young people and people who look like me to see an image of themselves in ownership and in leadership
Mm. At the world's busiest airport.
at the world's busiest airport. Many of my colleagues have their headquarters in other places.
Right.
I have an open door policy. You can come and see me. You can talk to me. But what does that do for a young person or anyone for that matter when they see someone who looks like them? Our energy is exchanged through each other. I'm energized by watching them. They're
Yes.
energized by watching me. And so it's
Right.
extremely important, to make sure I believe truly in what people see they will be. And it's true.
I love
So
that. Oh, I'm sorry, Alicia. I thought you were
no,
done. Go
yeah,
ahead.
so it's so important to me fundamentally.
So, and we're going to go ahead and take some questions here, but I do want to go back because I'm always just so enthralled by the drilling side of things.
Yes,
Forgot to circle back and let people know you also co-founded Goldberg Concessions Corporation,
I
which
was crazy. I
so
was
really,
insane. I was insane. I was just
Well,
saying,
I mean, you're not
I can
ready,
tell you how
baby.
that happened. I can tell
Yeah,
you how that happened.
yeah. And can you
Um,
tell us really quickly because I want to make
yeah,
sure I
I
get
can tell you
these
really quickly
questions
how that happened.
right.
I
My
read a
fault.
story about, and you probably, and people can Google him, Herman Russell.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and Herman Russell often was known for his construction empire, but also Mr. Russell was in the concessions business and owned the largest minority concessions company in the United States. And I thought that was amazing. I was like, wow, if he could be in construction and sell hamburgers and hot dogs, maybe I can too, right? You
Yeah.
know how crazy you can be. And so I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And so I decided to get really involved in understanding what concessions was about. I had recently done some consulting for Focus Brands, the owners of Cinnabon, Slosky's, and Moe's Southwest Grill, and thought that it was an amazing business. And so I wanted to try my hand at it. And I found a partner, and we were both type A cowboys and cowgirls. I came up with a few small concepts, one of which called the Atlanta Braves All Star Bar and Grill, and it won,
Hmm.
and we were very surprised, and um, we became a company that was one of the largest small concessionaire companies that came in to win successfully as a successful proponent at Hartsfield Jackson. And so we're very proud of that. We have several restaurants in Hartsfield Jackson. And now I'm proud to say that we have hundreds of employees who look like me
Wow.
in the world's busiest airport. And so if you come through and you have something to eat, it is my hope and desire that you're eating something that has been supplied by our company. And we're very proud of that. And we want to thank everyone who supports us. So um, we do a magnificent job, but the best thing about it is that we're no greater than our people. Our people are our greatest resource, and I spend an exorbitant amount of time with our people because I know that without people nothing happens.
Hmm.
They're our driving force. And so the biggest takeaway that I want to say to entrepreneurs all over is that business is truly about relationships, and it's really about people, and people don't remember what you say, but they certainly remember how you treat them. So
Hmm.
treat people with dignity and respect, and so they will do so much for you, so much for the business, and so much for the community.
Yes. Gosh, so you're so inspiring. Will you mentor me, please? Teach
I
me.
don't think you need mentoring. You're amazing, Michelle.
Yo,
You are.
trust me. Thank you for the vote of confidence. All right, so we're going to do a rapid round real quickly here, and ask some questions. And just congratulations on all your success. I'll make the joke all the time between you and Mac Wilborn. I'm like, all my friends own all the restaurants in the Atlanta airport, so like I'm good wherever I eat, right?
Listen, Mr. Mack is a legend, and I'm following in his footsteps. And I tell you, people joke. They say, the people who stay in the airport the most is either you or Matt Wilbur, because he's frying chicken and I'm selling hamburgers, hot dogs. I tell people all the time, listen, I just sell hamburgers and hot dogs, and I love it.
Yeah, and he says the same thing. I'm like, what do you do for? He's like, I fry chicken.
But
And it's like,
meanwhile, he has presidents that come to his house,
I
right?
know, which is crazy. A whole nother show, right? You guys should Google Mac Wilborn and you'll see
That's right. Google him. He's amazing.
he's amazing. All right, so we're going to do a rapid round of questions. So I'm going to ask some questions that have come in from our viewing audience,
Sure.
and then I'm going to have you answer them in like 30 seconds to a minute, and
Yes.
then we'll go ahead and close the show out. Okay, so this comes from one of our Radivision viewers. What's your best advice for someone who wants to break into the industry?
Well, my best advice for them is to just have confidence and go for it. Don't there's nothing to fear. You have one life. Do your research, be prepared. And and most importantly, reach out to people that you think that can help you. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to fail. I tell you, failure is the setup for success.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
truly is. You
There's
know,
a sound bite right
I,
there.
I, I've, I, I failed many times, but I've gotten up and picked it back up. And for every failure, it was a teachable moment. And guess what? I learned from that, and I was better for that. So don't be afraid. Most people talk themselves out of it for fear of failure.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Go for it. And you'll find that years later, you'll look back and say, I was crazy, but I'm so glad I did it.
Yes.
So that's my advice.
Love
Go
it.
for it.
Go for it. Be confident. Be prepared. Okay. How do you want to be remembered, Alicia Ivy?
I want to be remembered the way that I leave on my voicemail. How can I be of service? I
Mhm.
want to be remembered that I was a great daughter, a great ATLian, but most importantly, that I am a Black woman who loves to serve.
Mm.
I want to be of service because when you be of service, people will always come and be there for you.
Right.
And so that is my legacy. My legacy is truly a byproduct of my businesses are one thing, but the way I conduct and the way that I treat people, that's first and foremost. It goes back to what my father taught me. Never put profit before people, and people are your greatest resource. And so that's what I want to be remembered for, how I treat people. When I see you in the street somewhere, I'm always going to smile and I'm always going to make sure to be a service to you.
Well, just pass me a hot dog or a hamburger, Alicia, and we'll be
I
fine. Okay.
will. I'll pass you a hot dog, a hamburger, whatever you like, Michelle. I love you. I love you. I love you
Okay.
like I love home cooked food.
I love you back. I love you like my girl. Okay, here's our last question. What are your favorite? This comes from Mickey Rails, I think. Mickey Rails says,
Yes.
what are your favorite daily habits to ensure your day is successful?
One, the first thing that I do when I get up in the morning, first and foremost, I'm an early bird. That's number one. I learned that from Zernona Clayton, and
Oh,
you all can Google her. So I
yes.
meet with Mrs. Clayton, monthly at 4:30 a.m. She's 90 some years old, and she still gets to work at 4:30 a.m.
Mm.
So when I get my feet on the floor, I thank God because God has given me another chance and an opportunity to make a difference. Um, but one of the things that I always do, I make a running list of things that I must accomplish. And I do that I know it sounds old school, by legal pads. And I keep those legal pads filed from all of the years. So it looks crazy. I have legal pads from years and years and years
Wow.
dated. And I go back and I look at everything that I've ever done. And so when you're able to keep all of those things down, you see what you're doing, what you can accomplish, and what you think you need to do. And so I'm very persnickety about that. I always return all of my calls. Absolutely. And I'm always kind. Even if it's somebody that I don't want to talk to, I will return calls because it's important the way you treat people.
Right.
So
Right.
that's how I get my day started. I'm organized and I'm prepared. Uh, Nothing short of that.
And I
Once
know
you're organized and prepared, that it's a wrap. And look like you're going somewhere. Please. I can't say that enough. If you Deion Sanders said it best. When you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you play good. And when you play good, you get paid good.
mm,
That's what he said. And he's absolutely correct. So being prepared, looking like you're going somewhere, and being on time. Please be on time. Traffic is not an excuse. Good people, be on time because time is something that we cannot create, but we definitely can destroy it.
Wow.
We're not making no more time. And we've got to honor everyone's time, because when you don't, it's a form of selfishness. So I hope I've answered your
Oh my
question.
gosh. Yes. And speaking of time, I'm going to honor your time and get
Thank
you
you.
off this platform because I don't want you to be like, Michelle kept me. Yes.
Well,
You got
and
to
I
honor
hope
my
that I
time.
did an okay job for you, Michelle, in telling you some nuggets of wisdom. And I hope that you have me back to just kind of make sure to tell more about, the entrepreneurship journey, because it's one that I think that, folks need to really understand. When you walk down that entrepreneurship journey, it is a journey it requires discipline, but most importantly, it's not for the faint of heart, but it
No.
has rewards if you're disciplined, if you're ready and prepared.
Yes. This has been like, I don't have legal pads, but I do have, my moleskin. And I've just been like writing, just can't stop. I mean, you're amazing. And I know you, right? But like, I learned so much from you just from this discussion. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day. I know it's crazy. I know you have a lot to do. But the fact that you would take 36 minutes and be with us and empower our viewers, thank you. Please
Thank
tell
you.
people when they're coming to Hartsfield Jackson, how do they find you and eat your food? How can we support you and put more money in your pocket so you can keep empowering people?
Well, first of all, if you come to Hartsfield Jackson, number one, you can always come and visit any of our locations: Goldberg Bagel and Deli on Concourse A, on Concourse T, Atlanta Braves, All Star Grill on Concourse D. We have a Subway on Concourse E. And also we provide food for the Delta Sky Lounges as well. So that's another thing that, we're very proud
I
of
did not
that.
know that.
Yeah, we're very proud of that. So, if you're coming through Hartsfield, travel well, enjoy yourself, and know that we are represented and represented well at Hartsfield Jackson, the world's busiest and most efficient airport. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Radivision. And for entrepreneurs out there, keep the faith and always make sure to keep your dreams alive. And whatever it is, don't be fearful, be fearless.
Gosh, there's so many sound bites, guys. I hope that you enjoyed today's show as much as I did. I feel like I'm always winning with this. I hope the audience loves it as much as I do. Thank you so much to our amazing guest, Alicia, Ivey. And listen, guys, if you have friends who couldn't be with us today, remember radivision.com has VOD. That's video on demand. There's no excuse, like traffic, there's no excuse for you not to be able to promote this stuff to your friends, and they can multitask and watch it and listen on the commute. We are available all the time, 24/7, right here on radivision.com. Black is the new green, where we are inspiring our communities to thrive, build, and support terrific companies. And most importantly, share our stories. We feed off the energy here of amazing heroes like Alicia,
Mhm.
who put it all out there and take the risk. And guess what? You can do it too. You heard it here. Don't be fearful, be fearless. Again, I'm Michelle Taylor Willis, and you can find me at Michelle Taylor Willis on just about everything. I'm here every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 Eastern. I know we ran a little bit over, but it was so worth it. It was so worth it. All right, Black is the new green, guys. We're closing out Women's History Month, and we're starting anew next month. So I'll make sure to see you next week, guys. Take care.
Yeah, I do it for my people and my family and the ones who say they understand me. Yeah, I see you and I see you. We gon' make it to the top, that's what we do. Tell them like, black is the new green. Black is the new green. We gon' make it to the top, we gon' live.